The War Council chamber beneath the Dominion capital pulsed with faint light, each glow signaling a sector in crisis. Massive screens surrounded the oval table, displaying flickering surveillance feeds, casualty numbers, and grainy planetary footage. Alien voices layered over one another. Tension, calculation, concealed panic. Strategists barked updates in overlapping dialects. But within the din, one image dominated. A static frame, distorted and hazy, of a humanoid figure seen from a dying soldier's visor feed. The figure knelt, motionless, half consumed by shadow. One red lens glared from a helmet as if watching across time. The file was labeled Echo 41. High strategist Vok Rek stood at the head of the table, his expression unreadable beneath layers of armored carapace. His 6 fingers tapped the console once, silencing the room with mechanical finality. He projected the image again. This was taken 3 cycles ago. Dalker 9. Another outpost lost. No alarms. No survivors. 1 round per kill. No evidence of approach or retreat. Our systems, thermal, aerial, seismic, detected nothing. Fleet Marshal Zor, a brute of muscle and bioarmor, leaned forward. We control 3 quadrants of the galaxy. We've crushed human resistance. So tell me why one Terran ghost can erase an entire base and vanish. He's not a ghost. RAS Commander Yalek, eyes fixed on the feed. He's a sniper. The younger officer scoffed, but Yalek didn't blink. He was old by Dominion standards, a survivor of Earth's first conquest. He'd seen things the younger generation hadn't. Not from maps or simulations, but with his own eyes. He pointed toward the frozen image. That mark on the rifle. I've seen it before. During the siege of Reykjavik. A red slash. They called him Echo 41. Just a code name, muttered one officer. Surely he's dead. Yalek shook his head. We bombed his position. Sent 30 troops after him. Only one returned, and couldn't speak. Throat was slit. Not from range. From 2 meters. Vokrek turned away from the screen. This isn't about belief. It's about pattern. 32 high-ranking officers have been assassinated across 7 systems in the last solar cycle. Always the same method. Single shots. No trace. Witnesses, when there are any, report being watched before the shot lands. Zor growled. Then deploy a fleet. Saturate the ground with drones. Burn Dalker 9 to ash. We've tried, Vokrek said. 3 times. He's never where we expect. And when we leave, the bodies start falling again. There was silence. Then a voice, sharp and metallic, from the far end of the room. Send in a recon team. All eyes turned to Subcommander Zyrith. Small, skeletal, adorned with surgical augmentations rather than armor. A precision unit. Eyes, ears breathing quiet. No machines. Nothing for him to trace. If we find him, we kill him. If we don't, we confirm the myth. And if it's more than myth? Zor asked. Zyrith smiled. Then we become part of it. The dropship pierced the Dalker, 9 atmosphere like a blade, its hull glowing orange from friction. The planet below was ash-gray and windswept, dotted with the skeletal remains of ancient structures. It looked dead, but inside the walls, legends whispered. Sergeant Wrath gripped the safety bar above him, armored fingers twitching. His team, Zur, Varn, Trin, and the medic Cal, sat in silence. No one joked. No one prayed. Just the low hum of engines and the knowledge they were being sent not to win, but to confirm the impossible. Zur finally broke the silence. Why us? Wrath didn't look at him. Because we don't ask stupid questions. Zur muttered something under his breath and checked his weapon's charge. The others followed suit with mechanical routine. Varn, the comm specialist, adjusted his scope. Kyle ran diagnostics on the biosensor. The team wasn't elite by ranking. They were chosen for their steadiness, their reliability under pressure, their ability to see without reacting. The dropship landed with a hiss. The ramp lowered. Dust whipped through the cabin like warning. Wrath stepped onto the surface first, visor tinting against the dull sunlight. Fan out. Formation Delta 3. If you see movement, don't shoot. Call it. They advanced across the ruins of what had once been a human mining colony. Concrete blocks eroded by decades of weather. Broken towers. Half-buried domes. Everything was silent, except for the wind scraping over stone. The squad moved carefully, optics scanning for heat, movement, vibrations. Nothing. Rath's voice came through the comm, eyes on the old comm tower. We'll establish a temporary post there. As they approached, Kyle slowed, reading something strange. Not movement, just atmospheric fluctuation. Zer frowned. Could be nothing. Rath paused. Nothing doesn't leave bodies. They reached the tower. Inside, the consoles were dead. Rusted equipment lined the walls, wires hanging like vines. On the far wall, a message was scratched into the metal panel in a language only humans used. I see you. The team froze. Varn activated the drone. It rose, spinning, scanning the horizon. Rath held his breath. A single crack split the silence. The drone dropped from the sky, a smoking hole where its sensor had been. Down! Rath barked. They dove for cover. Zer rolled behind a collapsed pillar, heart hammering. Direction unknown, shouted Varn. Kyle opened his kit. No visible injuries. Rath cursed. He's close. Watching. Then another shot. Varn jerked sideways, a neat hole through his visor. No scream. Just silence. Zer bit down on panic. He's not using thermals. He's waiting for movement. Hold positions, Rath ordered, voice tight. No one stands. No one flinches. The wind rose again, howling through the broken ceiling like a scream. Minutes passed. A voice crackled across their comms. Soft. Human. You're not the first they've sent. Kyle froze. That's not us. The voice continued. They think fear makes you cautious, but makes you loud. Rath scanned the comms array. No source. He's piggybacking our frequency. You walk like machines, the voice whispered, but you die like men. The feed cut. Kyle turned, but his movement was too sudden. A third shot rang out. His helmet sparked. He collapsed. Zer backed against the wall, whispering, "This isn't combat. It's a message." Rath's breathing was steady. He wants us to panic. Don't give him the pleasure. Zer's voice cracked. He could have killed us all. Why hasn't he? Because he's still watching, Rath said. They didn't move for hours. When night fell, the cold took over, and the legend continued to breathe. The wind had teeth. It sliced between the broken columns and shattered towers of the old human ruins, whispering threats in a language only fear could interpret. Sergeant Rath crouched beneath a collapsed walkway, scanning the shadows ahead. The ruins offered cover, yes, but also obscurity for him and the thing hunting them. Zer, left flank. Varn with me. Maintain line of sight or you die. They moved like animals now, hunched low, eyes twitching at phantom flickers. Tren and the medic were gone. 2 precision shots, both silent. Rath didn't bother retrieving the bodies. There wouldn't be enough left to carry home. Zer gripped his rifle tighter, claws twitching. He kept looking at the sky, hoping for the hum of extraction or the distant flicker of drones. There was nothing, just clouds like bruises and the dull orange glow of twin moons rising. I don't get it, he muttered. We have the best tech in a galaxy. Thermal optics, motion grids, AI predictive overlays. And still, nothing. Like he isn't even real. He's real, Rath growled. We're bleeding for it. They moved deeper, weaving through structures that once housed humans, habitats now hollowed out by time and wind. The remnants of a kitchen unit lay to the side, rusted and shattered, with children's toys scattered like forgotten ghosts. Varn stepped over a cracked doll with a missing eye and didn't look down. They reached what had once been a transport station. The landing pad was fractured, weeds sprouting between the panels. Above, a gantry creaked as metal strained against decades of silence. Rath gestured for a sweep pattern. Zer and Varn broke formation, scanning different angles. It began again with silence. Then, the familiar report, a whip-crack echo, and Varn's body fell backwards in a burst of dark mist. His head was just gone. The rifle dropped from limp fingers, clattering against concrete. Zer fell to the ground, screaming. He's in the gantry. The gantry. But there was nothing there. No heat signature. No shadow. Just wind. Wrath dragged Zur back behind the shattered remains of a hover transport, his breath ragged. Blood pounded in his ears. The recon team was disintegrating. One by one, methodically, Zur clutched at his rifle like a lifeline. He sees us. Always sees us. He's not aiming. He's choosing. Picking us off like sport. Get it together, Wrath barked. He's just a man. Zur laughed, sharp and broken. No, Sergeant. He was a man. He's something else now. They deployed a decoy drone. It zipped into the open, zigzagging like prey. It lasted 4 seconds before dropping lifeless to the ground. A smoking hole through its power core. Wrath barely saw the movement. A flicker from one rooftop to another, then gone. Zur froze, listening. He's inside our comms. Static crackled in his earpiece. Then a voice. Calm. Human. Male. I see you, Private. Your left leg's twitching. Nerves. You never learned to control that. Zur tore off the headset like it was on fire, his breath rasping. The voice bled into Wrath-esque comms next. You trained for war. I trained to become silence. Wrath switched channels. All corrupted. The voice followed. I was there when your kind burned our forests. I remember the screams of my squad, and the sound their lungs made when your gas ate them from the inside. Wrath clenched his jaw. You're not a ghost. You bleed. And I'll find you. The voice paused. Try. The comms died. Complete blackout. Zur huddled under the transport frame, eyes wide. This is psychological warfare. He's breaking us. He's buying time. Wrath replied, scanning rooftops. He's isolating us. They made a run for it, bolting through the open lot into the next complex. The wind howled louder, and shadows grew deeper. No more shots came. Just stillness. Inside the building, they found brief shelter. A forgotten comms tower gutted by time. Screens long dead, cables hanging like entrails. The stairwell collapsed halfway up. They sealed themselves in what had been a control room. Low ceiling, only one entrance. It felt like a coffin. Zur collapsed against the wall, shaking. Why hasn't he killed us yet? Because he's watching, Wrath said. Studying. Waiting. For what? For the moment we stop being soldiers. Wrath knelt by the door, rifle trained, listening for footsteps that never came. Hours passed. Or minutes. The clock on the old console blinked meaningless symbols. Time was broken here. Zur drifted to sleep briefly, head nodding. When he woke, Wrath was gone. He leapt to his feet, panicking. Sergeant. No reply. He searched the small room. No blood. No struggle. Just absence. Like he'd evaporated. The comm sparked to life again. A whisper. Zur. The voice wasn't taunting anymore. It was closer. Intimate. Like someone behind a wall. You're the last one. The weak one. Always were. Zur turned in circles, rifle shaking. Where are you? Everywhere. Nowhere. Then, silence again. He backed toward the stairwell's edge, breath hitching. He pointed his rifle down, desperate for movement. A shadow flickered. He fired once, twice. The round sparked off metal. Nothing was there. He turned back and found himself staring through a sniper's scope. Not his own. Just there in the darkness of the room, tucked into shadow like a living rumor, the sniper was waiting. Wrapped in gray, his visor reflecting faint moonlight. A rifle longer than anything Zur had seen was pointed straight at his skull. But the human didn't fire. Not yet. Zur froze, certain his next breath would be his last. The sniper lowered the rifle slightly. You're not the target. Zur blinked. The man vanished into the dark, like a breath held too long. Zur stumbled backward, breath shuddering, his mind unraveling. He didn't know how long he stood there, or when the sun began rising. Outside, the ruins bathed in red light, long shadows cast across empty ground. He ran. No pursuit followed, but the legend grew. The transport's interior was cold, even with the heating coils at maximum output. Zur sat alone, slumped against the bulkhead, helmet resting beside him. His claws trembled as he stared at the darkened floor. He hadn't spoken since extraction. Not when the dropship crew found him wandering the ruins at dawn. Not when the medics checked him for wounds. Not when command demanded a report. He only repeated one phrase. He let me live. Fleet Marshal Zor reviewed the footage with a tight jaw. Most of the recon team's helmet feeds had gone dark the moment they set foot on the planet. Only fragments remained. Partial telemetry, corrupted audio, and one still image from Zur's suit. A single frame of the human sniper's silhouette, eyes glowing behind the visor like cold fire. It wasn't enough, but it was too much. Commander Yalek leaned closer. That's him. Echo 4-1. Zur didn't respond. He chose not to kill the last one. That's messaging, not mercy. Zur turned away. We'll send the 7th Assault Legion. Sweep the entire sector. Yalek shook his head. He'll disappear. Again, that's not how you kill myths. Far from the command chambers, far beyond the edges of Dominion territory, an old satellite dish creaked back to life atop a ridge. A figure in tattered gray knelt beside it, hand steady as he linked a cable to a rusted console. The signal pinged once, an encrypted frequency. A human frequency. He leaned into the mic, voice calm. Ghost 1 reporting in. Dalcarry operation complete. 17 targets down. 1 spared. A pause. Then, static gave way to a woman's voice. Sharp, professional. Spared. Deliberately. Explain. The spared one was weak. Afraid. He'll tell the others. And they'll believe him. She hesitated. Mission parameters didn't authorize psychological warfare. He smiled faintly. They didn't forbid it either. Static. Then acknowledged. New target grid incoming. The sniper leaned back, gazing across the ruined valley below. His hands moved methodically, cleaning the rifle that had ended wars in silence. There were scars on his fingers, burns along the wrist. He never wore gloves. Each imperfection told a different story, a different war. They had made him for this. Raised in the Arctic isolation units, stripped of name and rank, trained to calculate wind in his sleep and heartbeats by instinct. Echo 4-1 had passed every test they thought would break him. Then he disappeared during a mission long classified as a loss. Most thought him dead. Some whispered otherwise. He had simply gone to war alone. The 7th Assault Legion landed 3 days later. They came in waves, armored carriers, aerial sweepers, heat drones, seismic readers. Over 1,000 soldiers in gleaming armor, armed with weapons that melted steel. They deployed across Dalcar, 9 like an unstoppable tide. Buildings were razed. Caverns collapsed. The valley where the sniper last struck was bombarded from orbit. The sniper did not fire. For 2 days, they found nothing. Then, on the 3rd night, one of the forward outposts stopped transmitting. No alarms. Just silence. Patrols sent to investigate found the walls painted with a single phrase, written in Dominion blood. 1 shot. 1 more. General Karen, commanding officer of the 7th, ordered full lockdown. Spotlights flared, drones buzzed overhead. Guards patrolled in 3-man teams. Turrets spun at the faintest movement. The next morning, another outpost was down. No signs of battle. No broken walls. Just missing soldiers. 4 elite scouts simply vanished. Their helmets were found in a neat row beside the campfire. Panic rippled through the ranks. Officers dismissed it publicly. Desertion, they claimed. Cowardice. Privately, they reviewed Zur's report. Over and over. Karen doubled the patrols. That night, the sniper returned. 3 clean shots. 3 bodies, each at maximum visual range, dropped mid-conversation. No warning. No chance to scream. Only the sound of armor cracking and men falling. Karen stared at the vid feed in disbelief. He's making a pattern, his lieutenant said. He's taunting us. Karen growled. Then bait him. Pull the patrols inward. Set traps. He wants our fear. Let's give him fire instead. They left a squad exposed on purpose, under flickering lights near the edge of the ruins. 5 soldiers, pretending to be unaware. Snipers posted along the rooftops. Drones in the air. Motion sensors calibrated to detect even the flicker of a shadow. Hours passed. Nothing. Then, one of the snipers screamed. Not a death cry. Terror. The others found him convulsing on the roof, whispering he saw me over and over. No wounds. No contact. But his eyes refused to focus, like he'd stared into something beyond reason. Next morning, the trap squad was gone. No damage, no footprints, just their rifles stacked neatly against the wall. Karen broke a monitor with his fist. The sniper wasn't attacking. He was dismantling their minds. Yalek watched the reports from orbit, expression unreadable. Permission to engage with psychological specialists? He asked command. Zor, visibly drained, nodded. Fine. Bring them. Bring everything. But it wouldn't matter. The sniper had already won. Not through numbers. Not through violence. Through fear. Through precision. Through legend. On a ridge 2 kilometers from the main base, Echo 4-1 lay motionless. I pressed the scope. He hadn't moved in hours. He didn't need to. He watched the panic ripple, the command shift, the sleepless soldiers scanning empty horizons. Every flick of fear made the war tilt in his favor. His breathing slowed. Another patrol appeared, helmets gleaming under the floodlights. His crosshairs settled on the lead one. A young alien, nervous, adjusting his grip every few seconds. Echo watched him walk, stumble, hesitate, then pass out of range. He didn't shoot. The legend had already made its mark. Behind him, the long-range comm crackled again. Phase 2 initiated. Proceed to new sector. Echo 4-1 blinked once, slow. Understood. He packed the rifle in silence, then vanished into the dust. The Dominion War Archives labeled it a strategic anomaly. Sector Dalcary was declared compromised and indefinitely quarantined. The official report cited unstable tectonics and unexplained comm failures. Unofficially, everyone knew the truth, though no one dared speak it aloud. The sniper hadn't just survived, he had turned the entire campaign into a fable. Zur was discharged quietly, placed on a deep space assignment far from command centers. He spoke rarely, eyes distant, hands constantly twitching as if still expecting the crosshairs. During debrief, when pressed to recall what he saw in the ruins, he answered with a whisper. He didn't blink. That phrase spread among the lower ranks, adopted by rookies who didn't understand its weight. They told stories around dim fires in far-off sectors, where veterans listened in silence, not correcting the young, not confirming anything. Just silence, like the calm before a bullet. On the opposite side of the galaxy, Commander Yalek requested reassignment. His resignation was denied, but he no longer offered opinions in strategy meetings. He'd seen what fear did when it wore a human face. Echo 4-1 didn't return to Earth. His missions never ended with medals or names etched into walls. The agency he reported to had no logo, no office, only encrypted bursts from satellites older than most planets. They didn't question his methods anymore. They only gave him coordinates. His next target was deeper inside Dominion territory, a logistics hub disguised as a science colony. Population, 6,000. Priority, disruption, not extermination. He arrived in silence, descending in a stolen pod that crashed far from radar range. He moved through jungle and ash plains with a patience machines couldn't mimic. He slept under sulfuric skies, ate cold rations when he remembered, and memorized every patrol route by observing for 7 straight days. The first shot came on the 8th. A communications officer standing atop the outer wall during shift change. The impact was so clean that the body remained upright for 3 seconds before collapsing. By the time the medics reached him, Echo was already miles away, buried in the landscape. Panic blossomed like a virus. The death wasn't strategic, it was theatrical. The shot came during a ceremony, in front of witnesses. Just like before, the fear worked faster than bullets ever could. Within 48 hours, operations slowed to half. By the 5th day, flights were grounded. Civilians began evacuating, though no order had been issued. No one wanted to be the next myth. The colony commander demanded reinforcements, but the response from Dominion High Command was brief. Reinforcements unavailable. Hold position. Contain the narrative. It was already too late for that. Whispers spread through the camp. A ghost in gray. A man with no heartbeat. A rifle that fired only once per day and never missed. When the fuel reserves were sabotaged on the 10th day, no alarms triggered. There was no explosion. No fire. Just silence and then power failure. Every camera feed cut to black. Sensors showed nothing. And then, the broadcast. Across every screen, every terminal, every comms channel, an image appeared. A single shot. The silhouette of a man kneeling behind a rifle. The twin moons of Dalker reflected in his visor. No sound. No message. Just that image. Then the systems rebooted. 3 days later, the colony was empty. Not destroyed. Not attacked. Just abandoned. Command was forced to concede the sector, though they never officially recorded the loss. Dominion maps simply marked it with a red zone. Do not enter. Unstable. In orbit above the dead colony, a Dominion ship floated quietly. Inside, a child stared at the view screen, listening as her older brother recited the legend. They say he doesn't walk. He glides. Doesn't breathe. Doesn't eat. He's older than the war itself. Is he human? She asked. Some say he was. Others think he's what happens when humans lose everything. She pressed her face to the glass. Why does he only shoot once? Her brother shrugged. Because he only needs one. The pilot turned, a grizzled veteran from the first invasion. He doesn't want to kill, he said, voice low. He wants you to know you can't stop him. That night, the girl dreamed of a man sitting alone on a ruined building, watching the stars through a scope that never blinked. Meanwhile, Echo 41 walked beneath those very stars, silent boots stirring the dust of yet another forgotten battlefield. His rifle was secured on his back, and his eyes scanned the horizon with practiced detachment. There were no medals waiting, no flags flying, only the mission, only the myth. He moved toward a new target, somewhere beyond the next ridge. Back at Dominion High Command, a final report was archived under full encryption. Subject, Echo 41. Status, unknown. Threat level, psychological class Omega. Recommendation, cease pursuit. Notes, enemy functions outside all predictive behavior models. Engagement leads to destabilization greater than tactical loss. Presence correlates with collapse in unit morale. Desertion rates tripled. Mythos propagation uncontrollable. Conclusion. He cannot be killed because he is not a man to them anymore. He is legend. The file was sealed, buried under 1,000 others. Forgotten by bureaucrats, but not by soldiers. And across a dozen worlds, campfire tales began with the same question. Why are human snipers galactic myths? No one answered. They just listened to the wind and wondered if tonight they were being watched.